Takže nás vítám u další let's play kanálu StaySteak, když vlastně spíš gameplay nebo walkthrough. A ono to má svůj důvod, že jsem celou tu dobu sticha. Ne úplně celou, ale asi jste si všimli toho, že většinu minulého dílu jsem byl sticha. Ono jde o to, že ten vypravěč je tady v této hře vlastně nejdůležitější. To, co říká, tak podle toho se pak odvíjí ta hra. A taky nejdůležitější, abyste ho poslouchali, a kdybych se s ním přeřvával navzájem, tak bych vás akorát splet a všechno. Takže, jo, ok. Minule jsem zapomněl udělat konec s červenýma dveřma. Jsem šel do těch modrých a za těma červenýma je podle všeho taky něco trošku jiného. Takže jdem tam. Takže zahneme doprava, pojedeme do výtahu a ve výtahu pojedeme dolů. A tady zahneme do těch červených.
Good, good. Now, if you don't mind, there's something I'd like to show you. But to do that, I think it would be best for us to start from the beginning. This is a very sad story about the death of a man named Stanley.
O smrti.
Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. His job pushing buttons demanded little of him, so there was not much of himself to give. And in this way, Stanley's job felt less and less like his every day. But if buttons need pushing one day, it means they'll need pushing the next, and then the next. So, without question or judgment, Stanley continued to do what the screen told him. One keystroke flowed into another keystroke, flowed into his ride home, flowed into dinner, flowed into waking up, flowed into going to work, and here he was again. Stanley was typing out a complete sentence that said absolutely nothing at all. If in reality no one ever actually disappeared from the office, and Stanley never got the opportunity to make a decision, to choose which path he wanted to take, would his life still have any meaning? Perhaps when we long for something deeply enough, these hopes and fantasies become so strong in our minds that we truly believe that we're there, controlling that person and living that adventure. To manipulate your own thoughts and emotions might mean freedom from a self-imposed prison, but these delusions can be fatal to those who can't tell the difference. And so, Stanley asked, if that door never opened, if I'll never be able to walk away from those people and from these buttons, is this life still worth experiencing? Am I actually happy? Stanley answered this question by pushing a button. Then he pushed a button, and then he pushed a button.
And then he pushed a button.
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 Then he pushed a button. Oh. Takže jsme umřeli tím, že jsme mačkali tlačítka. Aha. OK. Chápu. No, ale je to jako celkem smutný to, o čem to bylo teďkon. Z něj stal prostě jenom stroj, že ztratil rodinu a všechno. Jinak taky vám připomíná ten vypravěč někoho. Mě připomíná toho, jak mluví mašince Tomáši, nebo jak se to jmenuje. Jako ne, že bych se na to nějak extrémně koukal, ale víte co, ten vypravěč je vždycky na začátku a myslím si, že i na konci nebo tak něco. Jdeme prostě povědomej. Tak jo, takže jdem na další ending a ten už bude teda asi ten opravdovej. Tentokrát jdem správně.
Entering his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. It was at this point that he began to feel dizzy and a little sick, and even thought he might pass out when suddenly he noticed a keypad next to the filing cabinet in the corner of his boss's office. Stanley had never seen this panel before and had no idea what combination of numbers would produce any result. In fact, only Stanley's boss knew this, since the panel withheld access to the boss's greatest, darkest secret. And so he had assigned the keypad a combination that only he could possibly know. The number of his freshman dorm number in college. 1957. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this. Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck. Amazing. Stanley ventured forth into the newly opened passageway. As he drew deeper into the bowels of the building, Stanley had no idea where he was or what this place held. And just as he began to think he might not discover a thing, he emerged into a long room to find rows and rows of monitors. Screens with a number above it. Stanley noticed, however, that these were not random numbers, but the number of employees who worked in the building, his co-workers. Even his own number, 427, had a place on the wall. But why a setup so elaborate, he asked. Was this simple surveillance or something even more? And as if in answer to his question, the wall slid open before him, revealing the ultimate truth of the situation. An enormous control panel Stanley discovered, but not one that controlled simple machinery. Buttons were labeled with emotions. Happy, sad. Levers and knobs controlled actions. Walking, eating, doing work, or watching TV. Every input on this device monitored not the functions of a machine, but of a human being. And the reality began to sink in. Stanley, like so many other people, reduced to images on a monitor, had been under someone's control, always at the mercy of this machine. Could this have been the only reason employee number 427 was content with his boring job? That a machine had altered his emotions to accept it blindly? He began to feel an unbridled rage, and at the peak of his anger, something happened. A spark. Stanley looked up and saw the generator overhead, still providing some small amount of power to the machine, keeping it alive. And knowing that this generator was all that kept the controls running, Stanley moved to the ladder in the back of the room and began to climb towards the rafters. The higher Stanley climbed, the closer he felt to freedom, the further from enslavement.
Aha, takže si můžeme vybrat nakonec. Buď to ho vypneme, nebo ho zvýšíme. Já si zase stejně udělám oba, ale nevím čím začít. Začnu tím, že ho vypneme.
Blackness, power gone, all alone, and then... As he stepped through the door into the fresh outside air, a feeling of liberation rushed through Stanley's body. He had seen power, he had seen enslavement, and he had destroyed it. The underling was in control now. He had found his leading role. Stanley never discovered why everyone had gone missing, nor how and when he had come under the machine's control. But it didn't upset him terribly, because he knew that this was how things were meant to happen. All he felt was a delight unlike any he had ever known before. Never again would he follow someone else's orders without question. Never again would anyone tell Stanley where to go, what to do, or how to feel. No more bosses, no more instructions on a screen. Stanley decides for himself now. And he stepped out into the world, and he felt the cool breeze upon his skin, and Stanley was happy. Stanley decided to go to the staff lounge to check on his co-workers. He never functioned well by himself.
What the fuck?
Entering his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to this. Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the...
Tak jo lidi, zase jsme tady. Jinak... No, nesměl se tady náhodou cedule? Tady bylo enable, že? Nebo engage. No, k tomu poslednímu jsem si vzal chips, za což se omlouvám. Ale už to bylo takový zdlouhavý, já měl strašný hlad. Tak prosím tolerujte to. No. Tak jo, jdem na to. Asi se to zase posede celý.
Oh, Stanley. You didn't just activate the controls, did you? After it kept you enslaved all these years, you go and you try to take control of the machine for yourself? Is that what you wanted? Control? Stanley. Stanley. I applaud your effort, I really do. But you need to understand, there's only so much that machine can do. You were meant to let it go, turn the controls off and leave. If you want to throw my story off track, you're going to have to do better than that. I'm afraid you don't have nearly the power you think you have. For example, and I believe you'll find this pertinent, Stanley suddenly realized that he had just initiated the network's emergency detonation system. In the event that this machine is activated without proper DNA identification, nuclear detonators are set to explode, eliminating the entire complex. How long until detonation then? Oh, let's make it say, 2 minutes.
Cože?
Wow, this is making things a little more fun.
Nukleární detonace.
Go ahead, play with those controls all you like. The real controls are where I'm sitting. Did you really ever believe you held any?
Ten vypravěč je náš šéf celou tu dobu.
Think I knew what I was doing?
Nás chtěl propustit a teď to dopadlo takhle.
Your co-workers and turned off the machine. I was offering.
Jsme moc na myšlení.
Escape.
Chtěli jsme vládnout továrně.
I've run this story many times, and I don't always set you free. Sometimes you just sit there, day after day after day, doing your job forever, and then dying alone. But when I actually give you the freedom to control your own actions, it's not enough. I let you go, and you trapped yourself just the same. You just weren't made to handle this sort of responsibility, I'm afraid. But you know what you were made for? Pushing buttons. You get it now? Now I'm enjoying this. Tell you what, I'll throw some extra time on the clock just because I'm having so much.
Bude mít to chvíli víc života, no. Skvělý.
There we go.
Dá nám 50
You see,
sekund
I want to watch you for every long second you try to puzzle this out. After all, it should make sense, right? The timer, the nuclear detonation, the mysterious facility, it's all here. This is a video game. Except for one thing there, hero. You've got no weapon, no vehicle. You don't even know where you're going. When you saw that timer, you just instinctively started trying to find an exit, didn't you? In fact, I bet you're still looking for a way out. I bet you're clicking on everything in this room, trying to open doors or vents or something and solve the puzzle. As though this game has a solution, as though it can be won. That timer is not a catalyst to keep things moving along. It's just seconds ticking away to your death. This is not a challenge. It's a tragedy. It's the moment when the hero realizes that despite his best efforts, he is powerless to his environment. And then he lets go. He surrenders. And he dies. 30 seconds, Stanley. 30 seconds. Until a boom, and then nothing. No ending to this story, just you dying. I suppose you could have gotten an actual ending if you played along, but that just wouldn't have been your style, would it? Instead, you'll perish knowing that the only choice you made here was to turn on that machine and to start this timer. But you won't be alone, because I'm not going anywhere. I'll be here to watch every second of your inevitable life from the time we fade in until the moment I say, happily ever after.
Tak jo. Takže Tímhletím náš let's play končí, no. Takže, jestli chcete vidět ty dema a tak se koukejte dál se mnou, no, nebo nějaký další let's player, je to na vás. Takže doufám, že jste tomu taky rozuměli a že se vám to líbilo. A jo, to je pro dnešek všechno, takže StaySteak.